Is the implementation and execution of the administration's plans to join RGGI accounted for in your department's budget request?
It's we have staff working on it right now. So there's air quality and energy money going into modeling. That's actually to support both the RGGI modeling as well as we have a petition for an economy-wide greenhouse gas approach that was accepted by the Environmental Quality Board. So it's supporting all of that.
Is that driving the need for the 15 new air quality staff that Representative Topper was asking about?
No, these are environmental protection operations line item is our field staff. That's the way I always break it down for folks is general government operations for us is administrative and overhead for the most part. Environmental program management is central office staff, and then the environmental protection operations is that field staff that's doing again modeling, monitoring, and permit and inspection work.
So the 15 new positions would be field staff that
Correct.
would not be impacted one way or the other by RGGI?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
The one slight clarification I would say is ultimately the RGGI numbers would be included within Title V permits and things like that. So there's some interaction, but it's not development of the reg itself.
Okay, so then the other thing that came up in the previous line of questioning, there's two funding sources I see that the department is asking. There's the $1.5 million increase from the general fund, as well as you mentioned a fee that is being proposed via rulemaking through the EQB.
Correct.
Why two separate revenue sources? Isn't this kind of a double dip?
So and I think, and frankly, it varies program by program, fund by fund, and I think there's been policy conversations about what is the right mix of general fund versus special funds program by program. In this particular case, one, for EPA, we have to demonstrate that we have fees sufficient within our Title V program to support the Title V program. So that was a deficiency that was identified by US EPA and something that the fee package in part helps to rectify. The $1.5 million is for additional staff so that we can bring on more people. The air quality fees is keeping us level funded, essentially.
Okay, I would express a concern that there is very large growth that we're seeing between the line items, and then we're also seeing fees. It just seems that there's growth on both sides of this, and that certainly would be a concern for me from a taxpayer perspective, from an economic competitiveness perspective. So I think that's something that we need to be very careful with. I want to keep moving since we are short on time.
Sure.
Looking with the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, a stated goal of that initiative is the reduction of fossil fuel use in electric power generation. As the administration unilaterally pursues entrance into this program, which would take decisions about our environment and our economy out of the hands of Pennsylvanians and shift it to decision makers in neighboring states, my question for you is, are you concerned that this policy that claims to focus on improving air quality in our state would really just shift generation and market forces to shift these production plants to other neighboring states that are non-RGGI members, such as Ohio, which is actually upwind of us, which really would not yield any kind of environmental benefit?
Two things I'd say to that. One is it's very clearly, and RGGI is structured as a series of state programs that are linked. So we're not giving up any authority, not giving up any, and in fact, when we released the draft of the RGGI reg, there's provisions in there that if we need to go it alone, that's also an option within that. So we're not, it's not structured in a way where each state is beholden to some central decision.
I'm a little confused how that would work, because if you have a regional initiative, it seems that we're going into something that would have to align with other states. But if we're doing that, then we're essentially losing our ability to self-determine.
There's a cap, and within that cap, each of the states would have a budget. That's something that is subject to discussion, negotiation. And then within our program, we can do other things. And for example, if you look at our reg, we have a set aside for waste coal plants, for example, because that is an important driver for us. So I don't look at it as we're giving up authority. In fact, I think it's an important tool for us and an incremental tool. It's not something where a switch gets thrown. It's 3% reduction year over year on a going forward basis in our greenhouse gas emissions from the power sector.
The concern that I have is as we go to that 80% goal that was mentioned previously, that how would we continue to be a net exporter of electricity if we're going to a reduction of 80%? And how would we continue to have that economic activity in our state? And I'll just end with, has the governor's budget request actually estimated what the decline in revenue would be by losing that economic activity from the generation within our state?
I'll answer very quickly. When we do the modeling, it's called IPM modeling within this. It does track leakage within. It makes economic decisions across the generation. So that's something that you'll see in these numbers. I'll say, frankly, one of the things we've seen in that modeling under business as usual is we start to see our net export status erode because of decisions being made in other states to bring on renewable generation like offshore wind that's within the PJM queue right now.